Fnatic, one of the best teams in the world, is struggling with them as well.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, this is really the moment for me where I have to see Fnatic pull something off where they can convincingly show that it's a map problem for them right now, where they have to improve on Dragonshire, where they just simply have to strengthen their map pool. Because if that's not true, and it's just simply because they in general trade really badly into SPT, then this game could be the beginning of the end now.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of pressure now on the boys of Fnatic. Well, SPT is given by Fnatic the map pick, and the reward for Fnatic will be that they can, of course, take the first pick and first ban.
Tacita again. Fnatic really doesn't like to give any kind of potential Tacita, Tracer, double support with Tacita shenanigans over to their opponent, so they ban him out once more.
And SPT, of course, in the last game, they banned Anubarak, getting ETC for themselves, since they maybe even recognized that Fnatic would want to deny that Dahaka. If we go back to... well, no going back yet.
Yeah,
I wanted to make a point, but wrong one.
Okay, so no, it's in terms of bans, I would say that ETC would be a good ban. They could also adapt again, especially Fnatic is once again here with the first pick. So for SPT, the combinations that we mentioned earlier, Lucio and Dahaka, would still work extremely well. It's a great combo to start things off with. We have seen more of a priority onto damage with Greymane, but still Lucio has risen through the ranks. He was played yesterday in every single series, and he's just absolutely fantastic as a counter. He can really make your own composition so much more dangerous with the speed boost alone. It's not only that heal that he brings to the table, but SPT plays it again with a ban on Anubarak.
I feel like now Fnatic might have a tendency to go back to what makes them get strong and take that ETC first pick, because last time they tried a more reactive approach, trying to deal with picking that Dahaka away from SPT, and but then when you lose a game, always you'll see competitors in esports go back to their own comfort levels rather than trying to play it smart. Let's say just believe in your own strength, and they go with that now. ETC first pick.
And that is one of the few cases where Breeze can play ETC, and a lot of the pressure is now on his shoulders. And it's actually really interesting, because when you look at scrims, what has been a little bit of a theme is that usually everybody bans out ETC against Fnatic. Now, it's not only a counter to Breeze, but the hero itself is just so strong in the meta. But Breeze, it's his best hero, and he has really made everyone respect it a lot. But what happens in scrims is that basically every single team they go up against, once per scrim block, allows ETC through, ETC gets taken, Breeze demolishes the opponent's tank and creates opportunities for his team, and from that point on, ETC is banned again. Not sure if that's going to be the case here, but at least if the scrim record tells us anything, it is that they have a really good shot, or they excel even more when they have ETC in the setup.
Teams might, of course, be just wanting to feel what it's like to face Breeze's ETC every now and then they see, okay, there's no point in dealing with that. But SPT, now this isn't their first Anubarak ban. They have done so before in the group stage as well. I had taken note of that. They continue with that pattern. It's very interesting that they are able and willing to deal with Breeze's ETC. Let's see how they deal with it. And for now, they're going to take a very cool approach here. Lucio and Tyrael.
Yeah. And with Tyrael, I am very curious to see what happens with Zeratul. That's a hero that I could very well now see being played. Now, when you play with Tyrael, you can be incredibly aggressive around the Sanctification as well, the setup that you have with Void Prison. And oftentimes when we see Zeratul played against Tyrael, then what happens is Tyrael uses Sanctification, Void Prison is immediately dropped afterwards to try and negate it. And that's something that could come into play here. We have seen that more and more, especially from the Korean and Chinese teams, and I'm really curious to see if one of the two teams busts it out.
SPT has the perfect empowerment for melee assassins or slow, strong, lumbering warriors.
There's still so many that you can ban. I mean, we're talking about a potential ban on Zeratul. We have Abathur still around, and Greymane is also in the setup. That's three heroes that have a high priority now, especially on Fnatic's side. So what do you ban out? What are you afraid of when SPT plays it with Tyrael? Is it Greymane, which would be the go-to? It's going to be really interesting to see what they are banning here.
Yeah, SPT has a lot of options. I mean, the cool thing is Fnatic continually bans these secondary support things like Tassadar and Abathur, which empower strong auto-attackers and melee assassins, and SPT has picked two of the heroes that empower those the most in Tyrael. So that's really interesting to see SPT digging into the worst nightmare of Fnatic the ban pick that Fnatic has shown for like a year already, always with that Tassadar Abba. And now you ban Arthas? This screams in some way either Greymane or Illidan coming out, as those are fairly countered by Arthas.
So they are looking for a ban on Genji, but yeah, I mean, there is so much that really would work with this. Cassia is also an option. Cassia, Zeratul,
Cassia is like
Greymane,
this big undieable composition.
It depends a bit on what they themselves want to pick. I mean, the blind on Cassia alone can be super annoying, and when we look at SPT, Chinese teams in general really like to play Cassia. Then again, I feel that Breeze usually is pretty good with isolating her, but it's a rough ban for Fnatic. There's a lot of options for SPT, and I don't think that you can have a perfect ban here.
Yeah, you simply do not know what SPT is bringing out.
Take away what you are afraid of the most, what you feel your own composition, what threatens your own composition the most, and simply roll with that. You won't be able to deny all the great picks to SPT here.
Now let's see how long it takes for SPT to snap up their double pick. Like we said, many options that would be very viable. Greymane, Illidan, Abathur, Genji, or maybe even something outside of that.
And both of the teams are actually running down the clock here on every single ban, every single pick. They're really, really slow with this. They have a game plan, but again, as we mentioned before, there's so many options available that you really need to think about these decisions, because they could make or break a composition here. And what does Tyrion send? Is it Greymane? That's for me the biggest question right now. Is it Greymane, or do they go down a different path? Because the obvious pick would be Greymane in the setup.
Chinese casters figured this match was going to be a 3-2 either way. Unthinkable if you go into this tournament and you think that SPT could stand even with Fnatic, but they have evolved a lot. They have grown and are now a true team to be reckoned with. It's going to be Abathur Tracer. We've seen this come out before on Towers of Doom, usually with the Carapace build on Abathur to function kind of like how Tassadar does sometimes.
Now, Fnatic isn't really afraid of the Tracer that SPT plays, so I think they're going to be okay with this. But again, we are hyping a lot Breeze ETC and everything in before SPT completely demolishes them here. But going into the series, Fnatic said that they are very comfortable playing against the Tracer setup that SPT is running. And with ETC now in their midst in particular, Breeze is on his best hero. So if SPT can play a fantastic game here, make no mistakes, then definitely they can apply the pressure, get the kills. But right now, Fnatic, I think, is still okay with this.
Still really love the draft by SPT, the confidence of Fnatic notwithstanding. Generally, for the team against Tracer like this, you'll see a very defensive approach coming right after. You're not going to go triple assassin, try to blow her up. Her mobility is too good. Probably second support, second warrior would be fairly likely. The Haka is available. He's fairly good against Abathur. Something like the Haka second support, the Haka Uther could be good.
Yeah, the Haka Uther is taken. So you really play, I mean, you play a very similar game to what SPT did on the last map. You have now theoretically two approaches to deal with Tracers. Attempt to kill someone in the backline, and SPT is trying to win the wave clear with Leoric here.
Yeah, I like Leoric. I mean, SPT put everything on damage reduction. You've got the shields from Tyrael, heals from Lucio, shields from Abathur, Leoric with the spooky walk doing a shrink ray on everyone, reducing their damage, all to keep Tracer alive.
Here's the one thing that I personally don't like, because we have seen comps like this again, and I'm perfectly willing to accept that I'm wrong there, but for me it's always a bit weird to see when Tyrael is immediately being paired with Tracer and then goes into Sanctification. Just simply because the chances that you hit that Sanct where she just stays is so low. You normally don't get any value for her, so I personally would like to see different tanks in these setups. Tyrael is fantastic, but I just don't think that... I mean, the reason why he's so strong with Greymane is because they can jump in together, they're next to each other, you drop the Sanctification and you get free damage, your opponent will have to retreat, you chase, or they accept the fight and you can do damage without being punished. But with Tracer and her constantly zipping around, it's really difficult to get a Sanctification that gets you that amount of value.
But I don't feel like it's entirely new. We have seen Tyrael Tracer before on maps like Battlefield of Eternity, European Open Division had this combination quite a lot, simply recognizing that usually Tassadar isn't there anymore and you want some kind of shields.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's not new. It's just something where I always ask myself, could you not achieve a more threatening composition with a different frontliner here? So if you perfectly hit those shields and if you play that right, then yes, you can help Tracer a lot to do her work, and she has now also the Carapace of Abathur that of course helps here. But yeah, it's always one of those points that I find extremely interesting when teams commit to it, and that's why I'm a little bit curious to see how Fnatic is going to react now when it comes to gameplay to that.
It's probably a partial draft ploy as well. When you threaten Tyrael, you threaten either Illidan or Greymane, and then the Tracer could catch someone off guard.
And there's also a fair amount of interrupts against Sanctification, so if they play on point, they should be able to interrupt that if at any point it really would give the value.
Now for SPT, it's going to be very difficult for Tracer to find relevant targets. Not only are you against double support, but there's also, like you said, a lot of interrupts, a lot of stuns. You've got Uther with Holy Shock, Hammer of Justice, potential Divine Storm, Kharazim chasing her around, almost as mobile as Tracer, to do a lot of Iron Fist damage. Fnatic has a great composition actually to deal with Tracer. The key card here for SPT is going to be their Abathur.
Yeah.
If they can gain an experience lead with that and control the map like they did in the previous game, maybe they can get ahead even without getting a lot of kills.
Soap is getting really excited here. And yeah, with the kills, you mentioned it, it's also when we talk about Abathur, I really want to see how much of a problem Abathur and Leoric are going to pose to that Bad Benny on the Haka, because if you trade into Leoric, you can actually really soak both of those lanes. Maybe not quite to the extent that he does, but you're usually alright. If you have Abathur in that mix, you can't ever really engage him on that lane. So Bad Benny has to play a very passive game. That is probably going to be a bit annoying for him here. I'm more curious to see how Breeze can now impact this match. Also, I want to see if Mene goes for Divine Storm, because when he plays Uther, he really likes to be a little bit more active with the hero and tries to create opportunities in team fights with an additional stun. And against Tracer, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Chen Xiao has to watch out with that positioning. Now, when Uther goes for Hammer of Justice on Tracer, actually, and there's this little bit of a wind-up where Uther, he raises his hand, the stun comes shortly after. As an observer, I'm asking you to watch out for that situation where Uther raises his hand and Chen Xiao will try to blink out of it to prevent that stun from ever even happening in the first place.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. We're going to see Tracer with the most pressure on her and then a lot of tools to control her in these fights. And once Tracer is down, you find yourself in a bit of trouble, even though there's, of course, more than only one tool in the box of SPT. Currently to the left, we have Fnatic. They're down in the series. It is a best of 5 here in the lower bracket at the GCWC out of the Water Cube in Beijing. And to the right side, we have SPT, the Chinese team that just took the lead with a victory on Dragonshire.
Towers of Doom, the battleground for the second map here. Can Fnatic take it back? Very early kill on Misaka in the previous game on Dragonshire, resulting in several more kills afterwards. Let's see if SPT plays it slower this time.
Fnatic just has, yeah, I mean, we saw it last game. Fnatic simply has to prove that, as we said, Dragonshire is just a map that they don't really like too much, where currently they still have to figure something out. Some things out. Fnatic needs to now show that on other maps they're going to be fine. And we have SPT with a few traps that they're already trying to set up here. Fnatic goes in immediately. Xingqiao needs to be quite careful here, already trying to aim for Vala. And this is going to be the battle between the two teams here. Try and take Vala out if you're on SPT side. Try and then dominate Tracer when you're on Fnatic's end. And those are the main damage dealers for the two teams that will look for the kill opportunities.
Nice power slide will result in an immediate kill on Lucio there. Perfect reaction by Breeze. Flip the switch right away. And Lucio goes down. Technically preventable. If you hit the sound wave on the power slide, you can interrupt it, prevent getting stunned. But in this case, in the Battle of Wills, Fnatic had the upper hand over SPT.
Now we have, of course, a bit more information about Fnatic. You watched a couple of the scrims of SPT as well. The European teams is what we've been focusing on a little bit, coming from the region. And when you watch Breeze, when he plays ETC, it's actually really impressive the way that he controls vision and also shot calls. The shot caller for the team is Quacknix. He's the macro shot caller. He's the guy that says, what are we doing when the objective spawns? Are we going for boss? What are we looking for here? But Breeze, when he plays on one of the tanks that have some initiation potential, is always calling out, I got a stun here. And if someone has a follow-up, that stun happens. So there's a lot of opportunities. They let simply slide because he doesn't get an immediate answer. And where, for example, the heroes are not really in range to follow it up. But that's what he's currently doing. Just roaming between the lanes, looking for opportunities like we just saw with Lucio that led to a kill.
It looks like Fnatic pushed SPT off of the Sapper camp, preventing them from getting that. Abathur is going to capture, Leoric will try to harass the Haka. And the goal for SPT here is in order to create enough chaos to try and get two of the altars.
I really love how aggressive Chinese teams are with Abathur in general, how much they are out on the map. It's really, really fun to see that. We saw that yesterday already coming out of SPT. Another altar taken, and with that, Fnatic is now taking 2 out of the 3. No, actually, my bad. One versus one trade, and now they're aiming down to the bottom to get a second.
Now, SPT has to bridge this small gap where they are not level 4 talents yet. And it looks like they will not be able to do so effectively. Fnatic gets the third altar in a 2 against 1.
Every single time I see the setup that we have with SPT here playing Abathur with Tracer, I'm reminded of 2016 when European teams had played this. Especially the French teams were really fond of that particular setup here. And SPT plays a similar style with this now. Bit on a higher level, of course. But once again, the opportunity created by Breeze. Tracer down, second stun comes in, and they take her out.
Yeah, recall not be able to be used. Perfect sync of the stuns there with the power slide into Menace, Hammer of Justice. That is indeed once again that second kill. Fnatic now making use of that, killing the towers. They'll probably move in and steal the Sapper camp of SPT, denying it, and getting additional damage on the bottom tower.
Yeah, but Ben is doing his thing against Leoric. As we said before, it's going to be a bit rough for him, dealing with Abathur as well. And I mean, that's his Abathur's job, just making sure that he's a game changer. He changes the lane situation on the solo lane, and currently he's just doing a fantastic job with that. Fnatic is starting to apply the pressure onto the bot lane since they have gotten these kills and that slight lead. But right now they're just escorting a few of the camps into the towers to open up opportunities later on.
Big risk and investment here by SPT. Leoric moves in, gets spotted immediately though by Quacknix, who dismounts him. This is a big investment because experience and push will be lost by SPT. They're trying to make use of the dwindling talent equality here to make a 4 versus 4 with the Symbiote hat, of course, having a bit of an advantage and trying to get a kill. But without a tank like Muradin in that second slot, rather having the Tyrael, initiation is not available for SPT. So in order to force a quick kill, it's always going to be difficult. Maybe Soap will grab Entomb in order to try and lock someone down, for instance the Vala, to try and get a kill. But mostly SPT has a tug-of-war composition. Shields and damage, yes. Defend, counterattack, but no real super hard lockdown.
And Fnatic is actually in this case also working really well with the wave play. They just created a great opportunity. They cleared the bot wave before they went to the altar. So now SPT has to choose to either ignore it, lose the experience on the wave, or simply keep one hero at the bot lane so that they can go for the altar instead. And they lose the experience, but they try to fight for the objective.
Now, the more time Fnatic buys here, the better for them. They have the Haka pushing in. Experience matched by Abathur, yes, sure, but the Haka does real pressure.
Oh.
Nice power slide on Tracer. Recall! And he gets away. In the meantime, Bad Bunny, Brodin, Drag Tongue on Lucio. That's a double kill there.
Yeah, they lose out on the kill against Tracer, but they're still able to kill Leoric and also Lucio. And that, of course, allows them to just get another altar. And that's 4 shots fired. At this point, SPT goes down to 28. And again, great early game by Fnatic. The question that we still have is this going to change once the level 10 hits?
Well, the difference this game is that SPT is not quite able to keep up with the experience, momentarily dropping 2 levels down. Big difference from the last game. And despite the mule choice there on Abathur, SPT will be unable to keep this very crucial bottom fort alive, this bell tower. Now, why is this bell tower so important? Well, once you grab sappers, you can escort them over the tower line to get tower shots, core shots, and Fnatic will probably put a lot of investment into defending this bell tower until the end of time.
There's also one thing that worries me for SPT, and that is the lack of CC that we have on their end. They have a little bit, especially when we look at the slows, but they don't have enough stuns here to control anybody, especially when we're talking about Karazim. Smexy has so much freedom to dash in, dash out, get the damage on the squishies in the backline without having to be afraid that he's immediately being punished.
Yeah, if the map objective was more centralized, like on Battlefield of Eternity, where I said that this draft by SPT is more usual, you can see more reason for SPT to actually get a fight and keep it, and to for Fnatic to feel forced to do so. But on this map, with so much movement around, SPT is unable to get those kills for now.
Breeze actually holding his 10. You're not going to fool anybody here. This is going to be a mosh pit if I've ever seen one. I mean, this is like the dream. There's a couple of, again, there's a few countermeasures on the side of SPT, but if we compare it to earlier games, it's just a perfect game to use that heroic. And he's already looking for it, doesn't even have to commit to it. They are getting the kill against Leoric one way or another. Great play here by Fnatic, but of course, using level 10 advantage here.
Now, level 10 reached finally for SPT. Judgment is a possibility, though Sanct is probably still more likely. There we go. We see the Quantum Spike, probably Ultimate Evolution, as Monstrosity is dealt with too easily by the Haka. And we're going to have March of the Black King, so still no real lockdown for SPT in order to force a fight. So there'll be a big burden on the side of Tracer to find someone low enough. finish them off. Let's see if Chen Xiao can do so.
Well, Misaka commits to the camp. They're going in. The mosh pit being used here. March of the Black King as well. Here comes the sound barrier, but the mosh still had its effect. The damage is in, but Quacknix is also incredibly low. Tracer eliminated, but so is Vala. Both losing their damage dealer. And we have Smexy trying to see if he can maybe get a kill, but Breeze is in trouble, and he's the next one to die. Double kill for SPT. And Mena looking to at least eliminate the copy. But a great invade here by SPT in this situation.
Yeah, not bad. Good job by SPT there. Sanctification got initially interrupted by the mosh pit, but then it came back on time in order to provide additional value in the follow-up. Cool ultimate evolution, copy there on Tracer, getting the kill on Quacknix's Vala, and he's going to need his level 13 in order to stay alive. I wonder, the D-shield by Mene on the mosh pit seemed a little hopeful, thinking that the mosh pit would be the start-all, end-it-all of the fight. It didn't look like ETC was in any danger of being interrupted, nor was he low on life. Probably the Divine Shield would have been better spent in order to protect the only assassin in the composition here of Fnatic.
I'm actually really surprised that they went for the Divine Shield. I mean, it makes sense if you would just want to keep Vala alive, of course. It makes sense mostly because we see Karasim commit to the 7-sided stride. I think if we had Palm here, then Mena would be a little bit more free with his choice and go into the extra stun against Tracer so they control her better. But he's now the one that has to keep Quacknix alive in particular. And so the choice between ETC and Vala is always a tough one to make.
But if you look at SPT, they have one singular interrupt, it's Soundwave. You have Cleanse on the side of Uther. So in theory, if you see Lucero coming in, you will interrupt the only interrupt on the mosh pit. So you would never really need to Divine Shield ETC unless he was under danger of dying.
I'm not disagreeing. I think he should have saved that. And most of the time, the mosh pit is just simply forcing the opponent in a bit of an awkward spot. You need to get don't need to get the full duration as long as you get some value and maybe an early kill.
Right.
Keep Vala alive. That has to be Mena's game plan here. For now, though, we have again 4 bell towers against 4. And SPT has a slight inexperience, but they have taken significant damage on their core. 13 hit points on their own with 33 against them. Quacknix survives for now. And that is where I would have expected to see some Gloom value, but he committed instead into the Siphoning Arrow and is going to get some hit points back here.
Yeah, I must agree with you. I thought the Spell Shield may be on Vala. In the meantime, big 7-sided strike here on Leoric. He will keep himself alive with the March of the Black King. SPT with the ultimate evolution. Oh, the mosh pit there completely missing out.
Yeah, that was a bit of a problem, but the copy is down as well. Now we have a fair amount of heroics that still haven't been used, especially on the side of SPT. They are trying to get that one also, but they're interrupted once again. Smexy comes in with the pressure, gets a little bit low, needs to be careful here. Breeze tries to zone for his teammate.
And at this point, the mass survivability of SPT is starting to show off more and more. They're doing a great job here.
Yeah, but Tyrael in trouble, tries to go for a Sanct. It is interrupted, but the altar goes over to SPT. Now the sound barrier is being used. Still a chase for Fnatic, trying to get another kill after they took down Tyrael, but SPT is on their way out. So now it's 25 points in the core against 13, but Fnatic has a little bit of momentum that they can use to claim bell towers at the bot lane and then go for the camps.
Still great job by Soap to recognize that as Leoric there, it was better for him to accept Tyrael's sacrifice and call it a tactical feat. They get the bell tower, the altar channel, getting those 4 shots. SPT now roughly equal on XP, starting to come into their own and starting the big comeback of the core HP. Towers of Doom is such an interesting map because even in a 1 versus 36 core HP situation, it cramps your style a little bit, but you can still come back. None of that costs you any experience, and this is SPT's greatest strength here. Yeah. Abathur in the late game. Now they're starting to be able to crawl their way back into this game.
Yeah, absolutely true. We've seen a lot of the teams able to turn things around here. A game comes to mind where we had CE play against Roll20, and it was a very dire situation for CE where they were down to 3 points on their core.
Oh my god, it was like 3 versus 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
And they still were able to come back into it once that CE hit level 20. So this is definitely the map with probably the most comeback potential if you have power spikes in the late game.
SPT using the Leoric a bit for the experience in the middle. Keep in mind, Mosh Pit is available. Keep in mind also that Lucio is the only interrupt with the sound wave. Yeah, in theory, if you ultimate evolution copy Lucio, you've got 2 choices, 2 chances there, and you can also sanct part of the Mosh Pit. But this is all about ZZH's positioning here against Breeze.
Yeah, and right now we have aggressive stance from SPT. Now there's of course 3 altars on the map now. This is the 5th altar phase. That means another 3 are spawning, and that is where both of the teams could do a significant amount of damage. If Fnatic gets 2 of the altars, then SPT is down to 5 points, and that brings all of a sudden the boss in a situation where he could nearly end the game. Abathur gets up at the top, the first channel, but Benny is interrupted, and down here the fight is continuing, but Breeze is currently zoning pretty heavily. Interrupted by Misaka. Exchange of tower shots, so the Haka can now move down if he has to, and here is the one-shot potential, and the kill against Tyrion.
I feel like Lucio jumped into the mosh pit there, rather than using Soundwave or the sound barrier in order to keep Tyrion alive.
Mane nearly down, gets the kill against the copy though. Sound barrier finally into play, and they're trying to go for Tracer. This is the biggest threat right now. If you connect with Tracer, if you can get the kill here, then that would be fantastic for them. But they still have the opportunity to go for the altar instead. And that brings us into the 5-point range on SPT's core. Fnatic now has also another 10 seconds on the map where they can take camps, and they have the level 16.
Yeah, boss not yet available, but that's 5 core HP. Will be available in 5 seconds, so there we go. That will be a 1 HP situation. So there's 3 to 4 ways to victory now for Fnatic. They have so much options. Boss into 1 sapper, they can do a double sapper, they can get all the forts, or they can wait for the next altar phase, and that's probably going to be the most likely. Now, SPT, they still have a chance to come back further here. They have talent equality, and all the way until level 20, that will remain to be true. So if ZZH can do better against the next mosh pit, then SPT still has all the chances in the world.
And they're looking for it. Breeze at this point, playing it safe. Alright, dodging Tyrion. Keep in mind, he now has Holy Ground available, so that's a great zoning tool for them as well. Fnatic's Quacknix picked on Vala, Frost Shot, so a little bit more of a tool against Tracer than anything else. It's also a great poke tool if you don't want to engage in the battle just yet. The extra range that you have on your multi-shot can be pretty handy if you spam a few out before the fight starts and try to get that AoE damage in against them.
SPT gets great fights when they fight over objectives, but they generally will continue to be unable to get a random fight. So this is SPT's goal now. They've got Holy Ground, take away the boss, remove a potential loss condition. I think it's such a great choice, and Fnatic, either they're not aware of it or they don't care. The cool thing for Fnatic is, even if they give away the boss, as long as they push the bottom bell tower, they have a 1 altar way to victory with 5 potential core shots. Now they know that SPT definitely is at the top and not setting some kind of advanced trap. They're going to take down a bell tower, but SPT very cleverly take down the top bell tower to remove the loss condition from themselves once again. Now, can Bad Benny stay alive? It would be truly miraculous.
And they are actually using a lot of their tools for this one. Fnatic doesn't even immediately rotate towards the tower. They're actually thinking about maybe even getting the Sapper camp first.
Divine Shield, channel the altar, dismount SPT.
Yeah, but there's only 1. They have 5. Like,
Fnatic has 5. Fnatic is going to win right here. Divine Shield?
Yeah, at this point it's over. Yes.
Divine Shield got used, it's over, GG. Great job by Fnatic, they stopped
They baited the boss.
Yeah, and then SPT didn't take down the top bell tower. Actually, quite unbelievable, going so hard for the Bad Benny kill. Even though the bottom altar was already showing.
They just zoned them at this point, and they wanted to get the kill against Bad Benny so that they have a safe fight at the bot lane. But yeah, with that bell tower taken, it was of course 5 points instead of 4. And then you have the Divine Shield that gives you enough seconds if you can start a 2-second channel.
Like even if Melody Seal and Abathur burrowed in, wanted to slap Karazim by time, Divine Shield would have stopped that. The only time where I could see you would want a Divine Shield and Abathur slap away, but actually
it would have been pretty cool.
I have to say here, really big and bad mistake by SPT. I don't know how else to say it. They had the tools to get back into the game. They see the bottom altar channel, do not take top bell tower. You can't make it across the map on time against the interrupts against Fnatic here. So they were behind, yes, but didn't have to lose like this.
I mean, at this point, it was a great call from Fnatic as well. So we have now the tie in the series. So far, their prediction has kept up. They said, and also ETC for Breeze. Again, I expected in the next series it's going to be an insta-ban once more. SPT put the toe in the water and said like, nope, not going to happen again. I would be very shocked if they let it through once more. Naptrust, of course, is also going to play a role. But all in all, a tie in a series. Fnatic said from the start, if we lose, it's going to be on Dragonshire. That happened. Now they are getting into their rhythm. They won the first, but still SPT. SPT looked strong. it's not like Fnatic completely dominated the map. They made good decisions, they had great fights, but SPT did not make it easy for them.
Yeah, and I think SPT did better than you might expect after the draft. Very synergistic draft, but definitely with some very serious weaknesses here. Bad Benny there buying enough time in that top lane in order to secure the final kill there. Never died either against the Leoric Symbiote.
It was actually really impressive that it didn't fall there. I mean, there were so many cooldowns that were committed, and he just said, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I got this, boys. Dodges the March of the Black King, moves around again, and at some point SPT's like, boys, we're losing a little bit of time here. We should probably start to move out. We're not going to get the kill. And at that point, the channel has already started, and that was an easy win then on the last altar for Fnatic. But the tie in the series, and I'm curious to see which map is now going to be chosen, and by whom.
Yeah, now SPT, they lost, so they can choose whether they want first pick or they want to have the map pick. Now in the groups, it was shown that SPT rather often chooses the right to choose the map rather than to go with first pick, first ban. They did so 7 times in the group stage. And yesterday against Roll20, when they were able to come out on top, they chose Cursed Hollow in one of their games. Now, not sure if against Fnatic Cursed Hollow would have an equal appeal, but actually it's been all over the place. In the group stage, they have picked Brax's Holdout twice, Towers of Doom twice, Dragonshire twice, and Cursed Hollow once. Now twice with the Roll20. So it's been all over the place. If you have such diverse interests, you might as well take first pick and try to either get your Dahaka or the ETC.
Yeah, Cursed Hollow is also a map where I would especially Fnatic see. They're probably really happy if it gets chosen by their opponent, especially since they did really well on the map against KSV Black as well, even though they lost in the end. But guys, we have a tie in the series, and we're going to be back in just a few seconds. After a short break, we'll head into the third game in the series between Fnatic and their opponent SPT.